Welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. And yes, we are still on Broadway. We're coming to you live today as we do every day, noon to 2 Eastern, from the Question Tequila Studios. We're at the Liquid Lunch outpost of Newsmax TV right here on Broadway. We are downtown in Manhattan. And before getting into all the big news today, the biggest news that you've heard in a while, we got the #1 most wanted terrorist in the world. Mr. Baghdadi is Mr. Began. We're going to get into all that and more right after this. But down the street at the New York Stock Exchange on this Money Monday, things are looking good. Dow up 100 as we speak. All good news. Fears across the globe that ISIS is not only is the caliphate gone, but now their leader is gone. So it's a headless snake squirming around the Middle East right now. We've definitely slowed our enemies, despite what many said about us pulling out of Syria. We'll get into all that later. Dow up 100 over that 27,000 number. I mentioned late last week that anything over 27,000 in a stabilization would be really good news, and trade talks continue to go in the right direction. We could be on a rocket shot to 30. On the Bitcoin front, you may remember I mentioned a couple of weeks back when it dipped below 8,000 at 7,900. I thought that was a buying opportunity. I myself went in and added to my position. We saw it fall even a little more to 7,500. The recovery started coming. We've been talking for weeks now how China and what's happening in Hong Kong was going to cause a flight to safety for many people in Asia to get their money out of China and Asian countries. And lo and behold, on Friday, President Xi from China said that China must embrace blockchain, and blockchain is the technology that underpins Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency. That news sent Bitcoin on a rocket shot, and Bitcoin tipped up to 10,000, up almost 25% in the last week, in the last few days, and all is well for Bitcoin. At the same exact time, the Litecoin conference is going on in Vegas. The who's who of the world in crypto and altcoins is down there. And lo and behold, our team is going to be down there for wall-to-wall coverage. Drew Taylor from the Wild West Crypto Show is going to be checking in with us a little later on at 12:15 and 12:45. Manny Alejandro, our in-house consigliere here on Liquid Lunch, is also down there. He's going to be getting us the best guest. We're going to tell you everything that's going on in the crypto world. We're covering the conferences all this week, wall to wall, with our friends from the Wild West Crypto Show. Now, getting back to the top story of the day. You would think that everyone, including those on the left, would be jumping up and down and screaming and howling, hooray, because we killed the #1 terrorist in the world. Abu Bakr Baghdadi is dead. He's dead. That was the #1 guy. He was Al-Qaeda in Iraq. When Osama bin Laden got killed, he started ISIS. They had a caliphate. When Barack Obama was president, they were taking over. They almost had their own country. Donald Trump comes in, smashes the caliphate to pieces. Thank goodness. Okay? And now the #1 terrorist in the world is dead. Finito. The left, they describe this in such a way that makes me want to vomit, okay? Let's just go through a few things here before we talk about all the great things that Donald Trump has done in getting this guy for us. The Washington Post described the death of the #1.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering.
He's a terrorist. He's the #1 most wanted terrorist in the world. He's not an austere scholar. He's a murderer. He beheaded Americans. He put people in cages and lit them on fire. He met his end being chased by U.S. forces, and he was dragging along his 3 little kids as shields. We're going to get into everything Donald Trump said, but I want to focus in on the Washington Post. Now, they took down that headline. Johnny T is working day and night for you guys. I saw that thing yesterday, like, oh my God, this is how they're going to describe this mutt's death? I screenshotted it. Thank goodness.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering and crying and screaming all the way. He reached the end of the tunnel as our dogs chased him.
Austere, we're saying. Do we have the definition of austere? Because this is, I want to take the Washington Post to task on this. They said he's an austere.
Brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. He died after running into a dead-end.
Indicating a capacity. He's not an austere scholar. He's a murderer and a killer. In other news, I tune in every morning to Morning Joe. I call it Morning Joke because the show is literally a joke. It's like a morning comedy show. Lead story on Morning Joe this morning. Joe and Mika come on and say, the Nationals lost last night to the Astros in the World Series game. Who cares? We caught the #1 terrorist in the world, Mika and Joe. But it was really just a setup. So instead of congratulating our president on making the world a safer place, the setup was Nationals lost, but Donald Trump got booed at the World Series. Heavens to Betsy, he got booed. Every president, every mayor, everyone gets booed when they go to stadiums. But maybe the lead story should be the president's administration and intelligence agencies did a wonderful job taking out the #1 terrorist in the world. But no, that doesn't happen. Yesterday, after I hear this news, I sit on the couch. I get myself a nice extra large Dunkin' Donuts coffee, a sausage, egg, and cheese on a croissant, toasted croissant. I sit down for showtime when Donald Trump is going to come out and talk about how we caught up with this guy and confirming that he's dead. So I tune in to the press conference, and I mean, I've been saying this all the time, that this guy is a one-man comedy show. And he always goes just maybe one step too far when he throws his tweets and his jabs and everything else. He didn't go one step too far this time, okay? He went 10 steps too far. And the whole reason is to let every other wannabe terrorist in the world know that your leader's dead. We caught him. He died. He died whimpering and screaming like a dog. And there were so many other. I don't even want to do them. I won't do it justice. I put together, Lamont, I, Nico, the team, we put together from yesterday's press conference the greatest hits from Donald Trump. I want to take a look at some of the finest things he said yesterday.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering and crying and screaming all the way. He reached the end of the tunnel as our dogs chased him down. Baghdadi and the losers who worked for him, and losers they are, they had no idea what they were getting into. In some cases, they were very frightened puppies. Baghdadi was vicious and violent, and he died in a vicious and violent way as a coward, running and crying. He died like a dog. He died like a coward. The world is now a much safer place. They call it a closed-end tunnel. Not a good place to be. Many of his people were killed, and we'll see the exact number over the next 24 hours, but many were killed. We lost nobody. Think of that. It's incredible. Washington is a leaking machine, and I told my people we will not notify them until our great people are out. So I said that right after I knew they had landed safely.
When they had returned.
Right. And that was to notify you guys that you have something big this morning, so you wouldn't be out playing golf or tennis
Where did they
or
land?
otherwise being indisposed.
Oh, man, I tell you, I'm texting back and forth with a good friend of the show, my friend Tommy Cackle, who writes me jokes, and he's a humorist. He gives me some ideas on stuff. And we were going back and forth like, oh, man, did he just say that? And just, I love when he says, and losers they are. He died like a dog. Dead-end tunnel, not a good place. And he just keeps going on and on. The piece you missed, they asked him, well, how do we know for sure it's Baghdadi? I got the notification. It's confirmed, sir. And we got plenty of DNA. In fact, more than we actually wanted. Was there any remains? Well, we blew them up pretty good, but we brought home a few body parts, and there wasn't much left, to be frank with you. But we do have a few body parts if anybody wants them. And the great part at the end, did you tell? This is what the left is howling about today. They didn't tell Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi does nothing but grandstand every chance she gets. She's leading an unofficial impeachment inquiry. Why in the Lord's name would Donald Trump call Nancy Pelosi, who's done nothing but block him, annoy him, investigate him, and try to impeach him? No, thank you. And he said it perfect. Washington is a leaking machine. And last but not least, at the end, they said, well, why did you text before? Well, everyone was on the ground safely and wanted to give you guys a heads up so that on Sunday morning when we're having the press conference, you're not out playing golf or tennis or otherwise indisposed. So I thought it was kind of nice of them. But that's all I got for you right now. I mean, Rocket Monday, wall-to-wall coverage of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, all that stuff, and more. And finally, to go out of this segment, I just want to let you know, my audience, I love you very much, and I'm responsive to every bit of feedback that we get. Some great guys from out in California who watch the show all the time at Imperial Spirits reached out to Nico, and they said that they love the show. And one of the owners is a veteran, Ed, and they want to send us down some vodka to try it out. It's watermelon vodka. It's vegan vodka. We've been talking about that. And I want to tell the team and our friends at Imperial, we're waiting for that vodka to put it right here, and we'll test it out every day for you. We're going to test out a Money Monday like you've never seen. We're talking about crypto. We're talking about Baghdadi being dead and everything else that's good in the world today. You watching Liquid Lunch on a Money Monday. Quick break. Jen Kearns coming at you right after.